When you're raised in the heartland, you learn that the seeds you sow become the plants you harvest. In our case, we seeded an ideal for something unique and so simple it could be sketched on a sheet of paper. It was a new kind of vehicle, capable of both off-road adventure and family duty. The first SUV, we called it the Scout. That was back in '61, before Bronco, before Blazer, before anybody. The new decade ushered in a new generation of Americans, adventurous, hardworking, optimistic. It was a time of cultural shift, and the Scout was a machine for the moment. Those who were drawn to it formed a tribe of kindred spirits, people who recognized how big, how beautiful, how vast America was, and wanted to get out and experience it. And for the next decades, the Scout led us on a joyous adventure. Then something happened. As the 70s met the 80s, there were tough times. The factory where the original Scout was made, it shut down. America morphed into a service economy. Turns out letting others do our work for us doesn't work for us. But they say that storms make the roots grow deeper. And the decades that followed, the Scout community held tight. Through the mud, through the sand, the snow, through it all they kept our legacy looking polished and shining, so the soul of Scout could live on. We knew if we ever got the chance, we'd go back to work here in America and make Scout once again, and we'd reboot and re-energize the Scout for our time. So let's get back to work. It starts here in South Carolina, where the soil is literally made of iron, and where the people possess an iron will to work hard, and the ingenuity to succeed. Here in Blythewood, South Carolina, at the site of the new Scout Motors Production Center, we're putting down our roots and restoring American manufacturing, brick by brick. Scout has a new home and a new beginning. We know our future will honor our past. This is Teachable Moments with April podcast, and you guessed it, I'm your host, April. If you're a returning listener and a part of the Teachable Moments with April podcast family, welcome back. For those of you who are checking me out for the first time, well, hello and welcome. To everyone listening, look for the teachable moments that are all around you. Enjoy. Miss Mary, how you doing?
I'm doing quite well, thank you.
All right.
Been quite busy today, but now I'm calming down.
All right. So Miss Mary has got a leg up on her spring cleaning. I don't know when people start. Is there an official time that people start?
I think it is, but the weather has been very nice, so this allows you to do that. I never started, I don't believe, in February before.
Okay.
It's usually March or the 1st of April.
Oh, okay.
But I got started early.
All right. So, of course, I'm her assistant.
And she helped me quite a bit.
And but she had been, while we were working, while we were cleaning, she was telling me some things that she had seen before we actually headed out, and as well as after, about the migrants and something that she had seen on the news, maybe about the migrants selling.
No, I was out running errands.
Oh, okay. So, okay. See, okay. So,
I haven't watched
tell
the
us
news
about it.
too much. I keep hearing all these things that the establishment is doing for migrants, and I have observed them in the store trying to count pennies to buy necessity like a pan to wash in and stuff. But the one that got my attention today, when I decided I would try and get out early enough in and get some errands done, I used to go to the store, a couple of stores, and get a few things and get back in the house and start my spring cleanups. And I kept seeing these people in the street, and I'm going across the light. And finally, I had got stopped at the red light, and this man came up to me. He had a box of candy in bars, and he was holding them up in the window. I don't know could he speak English or not, but he was trying to get me to buy candy for him, I guess so he could make some extra money. And I shook my head and told him no, I didn't want any candy because I am a sugar freak, so I didn't need no help with no candy. And then I looked down the street. There was another lady. She was running like crazy back and forth carrying a box of, she was trying to sell candy to people that was driving down the street. And from what I could observe, the English was not very good, because I was a little afraid they were going to get ran over because they kept running. But that's a pretty desperate measure. You're going to walk the middle, that line down in this where the cars go, and the lady was running in this line. She was going from car to car, side to side, the right lane, left lane, and she was still holding candy, trying to get people in the car to buy some. So what would drive people to go to that extent to try and get money if they've been given all this money as migrants to the city? I had seen on the news where they said that the migrant was threatening the mayors and so forth because they wasn't getting enough public aid to help them. So did they not get the public aid? There's something wrong with the picture. I just cannot bring it into focus.
Okay. I know that we're constantly, I was telling Miss Mary that we're constantly saying things that, and we've talked about it sometimes, several times, many times, about how I notice that there's a pattern in the same story, whether you're looking at something mainstream news, or you're looking at people who've seen mainstream news and they're giving their commentary. They're talking, it always starts with all the things that the migrants are getting. Okay, it can be very surface, and sometimes it's very specific. They'll say they're getting $9,000 of this, they're getting $15,000 of this for a home, for housing, for this, for that. But then right on the heels of it, in the same particular commentary or news, right after saying that, it kind of reminds me, now that I'm talking, and I didn't remember when I was talking to Miss Mary, it's what would kind of get under my skin a little bit when they would talk about crime.
Right.
They say they give all the percentages. Crime, they tell you the whole thing is about who got shot, who got killed, who got stabbed, they got ran over, who died, who burned up in the fire, who, I don't know, carjacked, and then they'll say crime is down. And then I'd be like, say what now? Every single time they'd say the whole thing. It's kind of like the medicine. Okay, take Ozempic, and they'll tell you what it's for. Then they talk about the side effect, and then I'll sit there at the end and say, what was that medicine for? What was that medicine for? Okay, and I can't remember, but I remember all the side effects, but I can't remember what the medicine actually was for.
Well, you know,
what was it for?
With that medication thing and the side effects, the medication they said that would clear your vision, but your tongue would swell up,
right,
and your eyes bulge out,
and then you have a fatal event, then you die,
and your shoulders have no feeling in it.
Right.
So what would you prefer?
Diarrhea.
Right. So why would you prefer The thing that it had for on the other side of it.
Gangrene in your privates is the diabetic medicine.
Right.
I was like, say what? Wait a minute. Wait. Say. Okay, so you got the diabetes, and now you're going to take this medicine to help you to manage the diabetes. But now you got a problem with the gangrene, but in your privacy, as they would say. So then I'm like, okay, diabetes, gangrene in your privates. I'm going to pick the diabetes, I'm thinking, because, okay, that's, okay. It's like the lesser of two evils in this society. So, when they talk, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
When they talk about the migrants and they tell them all these things allegedly that they have, then right on the heels of it, you start to hear about, like what Miss Mary is saying, and worse. And then I'm like, so if they're getting all of these things that you're saying that they're getting, why would they be doing it? Doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't make sense. Not to say just because I'm getting this, then I'm not going to try. I'm not going to be hardworking. I'm not going to try to make my own. That's not what I'm saying. And I know that we're not alone in this, but the things like with Miss Mary, the way she described it, the way they're moving, the whole feel of it is like, if I don't do this, then I won't survive. So if you're getting all of these things, this is not the behavior. It's not matching up.
No, it's not.
Then what I told Miss Mary, but I didn't follow up on it, was yesterday in the evening, I kept seeing all this thing about people going to the border and some kind of rally. Some people are saying that they're going down. I haven't followed up with it today because we've been busy doing other stuff. And you can't spend all your time worried about that certain things, because that's what I feel like the adversary wants you to do, is to become so wrapped up and you don't do the things that you need to do.
Right.
But they said they're going to rally. Then they show an older guy, two older guys were saying, all I know, he says, I don't want people to get sidetracked. We're going down to the border to pray. He says, but I got a bad feeling that the people that are going down with us are not, they're going to lose focus, and they're not going down there to pray. They're going to go down there for violence, to do something, and that's not why we're going. I don't know what happened. I don't know if you guys know what happened. I haven't looked into it yet, but all I could hear was they were having full convoys of people going down to the borders. I didn't really know myself why they were going down there. Maybe a peaceful rally or something. But this guy added to pray, but he was concerned that it was going to turn into something else. Very negative. Miss Mary says she hadn't seen anything yet because she has been busy herself. So I don't know. I would imagine with all things you have the best intentions, and then people go down there for other things because they're so frustrated. Right. Go ahead, Mom. They're frustrated.
Well, that's the last thing the migrants need, is someone coming down there with some violence. They are trying to seem like they are trying to survive. And violence would not fit in, but I don't know.
I guess they're just frustrated. The people that live here are just, and I get it, frustrated because of the things that we're talking about. A lot of the things do not make sense. They don't match up, and they keep coming, and they keep coming, and they keep coming some more. And then I think temperatures are, and tempers are high because of what Miss Mary says she saw. And I seen it briefly. I don't know, was it just in New York? But some police officers got attacked by some migrants. They were the footage that I saw was a clip, and he was down on the ground. It was one particular officer, and he was being kicked and stomped by a bunch of migrants. And then I think they apprehended they apprehended more than one, but there was one that they took a picture of, and he gave everybody the finger. He smiled. He looked into the camera. He gave him the finger. But then I heard that they let him go, too.
They said they could not charge him with anything or place him under bail because of the fact that they were migrants. They couldn't do anything to them. Now, I don't know how that fits. So you're giving them a free ticket to go attack normal, everyday people, if you give them a free ticket to beat up the police. And that was not one policeman beat up, they beat up two of them. One got it worse than the other one, though.
My issue is many, but when she told me about that, and then I later on saw some things in regards to that, I started thinking to myself, I don't know if this sounds illogical or not. If we are already having issues with crime, okay, and our executive branch of our government basically said a certain group of people that we belong to actually are the cause of all of the crime, okay, which there are a lot of, like in all races, there are, as we can see, good and bad. It's not just our group of people, you people, but then you open the borders and then some more people come and then they are doing all of these things and more, but yet you're not saying anything.
You're not addressing.
It's like, okay, so now we had the original problem, okay, the bad people that are already here, and then you invited the other people, so that now the people that are caught in the middle, like Miss Mary, me, you, whoever else is listening, is in the midst of the existing people, and now the new people, and now what?
Well, come to think of it, today I was outside and doing the garage car, different things, April and I, which I appreciate your help. And we got Hispanic people recently moved in, and with this lax type attitude from the executive branch, it makes you wonder, because I was told by one neighbor, the Hispanic said they are taking over. There's no such thing as no one taking over. Everyone is supposed to try and live together peacefully as possible. But I noticed that they were moving in and they were getting rid of a lot of stuff, so they will go over the boundaries, because they pile all this furnishing stuff in front of my neighbor's garage and in front of mine. Well, you didn't buy the 3 blocks, you bought 1 block, and if you got other things, you have to leave it in your property until the day the trash man comes, and then you make sure it's out there for them. But you don't go and put it on other people's property. That is not the proper thing to do. And if you desire some part of another person's property where you need some assistance, you ask the person to do it. You don't go in the bag. I don't speak English. I have to wait till my daughter come home. She speaks English. You know right from wrong. So let's not start a race riot. Let's try to work with each other and pray on matters before we do something simple.
All right. Anything else you want to say, Miss Mary?
No, I think I want to say I pray every day that God be with us all, because this system is in a mess.
Oh, before we go, I am going to Miss Mary. Can you tell me what you experienced at the post office today?
Oh God, that was a letdown.
The post office. So the reason why I'm bringing it up, and like I said, I know that people from different states and actually different countries listen to this podcast and to other podcasts as well. But I think yesterday or the day before, they talked about it where we live at, what state we live in, and what city we live in. They talked about a children's hospital getting some type of issues. I'm not going to say cyber attack, because they didn't necessarily say that on the news, but they said that their systems, computer systems, were down, and they didn't exactly come back up when I looked at the news, and that there were certain procedures and surgeries and different things for for the Children's Hospital here that they couldn't do because they couldn't access the computers. They were down. But there was something very questionable about it. So when Miss Mary went out and she ran her errands along with what she shared so far, she stopped over at the post office, and she's going to tell us what she encountered.
Okay. This morning was my first stop because my children are my priorities. Seemed that way. No matter how old they are. I had went shopping the other day for some things that I wanted my oldest son to have, well, my only living son to have, and I had packed it all up yesterday. And some kept telling me, yeah, surprising me, make sure you get it done today. But I kept saying, no, don't do it on today. Do it later next week. But then I decided I'm going to do it today. So I had put the labels and everything for shipping out. And I drive to the post office. And when I got to the door, I seen it said system down. So I thought, okay. So I looked inside. There were people still in line. So I said, well, maybe it's back up and they forgot to take the sign down. So I got into the line and I waited. And I waited. They had one young lady there. Not two, just one. And she was apparently in the back looking for something for the young lady that was waiting at the window. Then she came out and she said, I'm sorry, I cannot help you today with postage stamps, packages, or anything. And the lady in front of me said, why not? She said, all the systems are down. So we were not able to get anything done.
The reason why I had her say that is because other people in other states sporadically, there is a pattern with everything, and I know in other places people were talking about having issues with their having issues with their computer systems, because everything now is computerized. And a lot of things that, like myself, I wasn't aware, but it makes sense when it has to do with our electrical, our gas, and other things. And then them talking in the past, and I've done a couple of episodes or podcasts on them on the news in other states, and even here where we live, them talking about how many alleged cyber attacks and different things that were happening and how vulnerable we are. So I'm just kind of putting that out there. If you guys are experiencing anything like that, has it been several of them, depending on what country you're in or whatever state you're in, is that it's getting, for some of us like Miss Mary and I, it's getting closer. There's a lot of things that we do not know, and then they'll talk about on the news. I'm like, when did that happen? And I'm like looking like, what? Say what? So, say what? Like, when did that happen? And you're just hearing about it now. Like when they talked about before, they were saying how many, I mean, like it was a really big amount of attacks on the grid. And I'm sitting there like, well, why is this the first time I'm hearing about this? And maybe other people, maybe, I don't know. I'm just looking like, this is the first I'm hearing about it. And they start talking about the shortages again, those shortages again of people that are actually trained or who are actually accessible in order to have on board, so that if something does happen, they're able to effectively, execute it, jump in and take care of it when it happens. There's a shortage of people, qualified people. There's a shortage of people interested in even doing it. And I'm sitting there like, okay, if it's happened these many times, like it was like a really ridiculous amount across the nation. I'm thinking, we need to be on this ASAP if everything is, is digital or through the computer system or whatever, the Wi-Fi, whatever you want to say. There's a better word for it. I just can't think of what it is now. I'm thinking, so I think we need to be on top of this. This is national security. I mean, like, it is national security. So I'm like, okay, scratching my head, like we doing this other stuff and going to other people's countries and messing with them. I mean, like, hello, it's some stuff going on here. Could we? Because that's what makes me think they're a part of it. Because, and I,
it has to be.
Because there's no way. It's like all the lights turn off in our house and our gas turn off, all the phones turn off, but we over at so and so's house and we talking to them about their stuff and everything cut off. I mean, like, come on now, like really. So now when they said the thing about the children's hospital, and then when Miss Mary said the thing, it kind of, I forgot what I had seen yesterday or the day before, and I was like, wait a minute, didn't I say it was a hospital and them poor kids couldn't get their operation and procedures because the computer was down? Now at the post office, so
we can't get anything done.
Come on, what's next? Some people might say, oh, it's just that and it's just
No,
this.
it's not.
Well, it starts little sometimes, so it's just this and just that, and then, boop, and
yeah,
lights out, sister. So I don't know. So that's all I wanted to come and say, and I'm gonna let Miss Mary continue with the rest of her day, and may she be blessed and highly favored.
Thank you, April. Same to you.
All right. Just listening to Teachable Moments with April podcast. I truly hope you enjoyed this episode. We invite you to stay connected with us on our other social media platforms such as TikTok, Pinterest, Instagram, Threads, and YouTube. Also, check us out on our official podcast landing page on podpage.com/Teachable Moments with April to see all our content in one place. You can leave messages and give feedback and more.